Hi, my name is Tony Van Veen, CEO of Discmakers. Twice a year, the good folks at MRC Data, which owns Billboard magazine, they do a report out on how the record industry is doing. And it's certainly well known by now that the music industry at large has been growing at double-digit rates for at least the past 5 years or so due to the rapid growth of streaming adoption. Today I want to talk about what they are saying specifically about how physical media is doing and how albums are doing for the first 6 months of 2021. Why do I want to talk just about physical and albums? Well, for one, since I run a physical media manufacturing company, it is a topic near and dear to my heart. But secondly, and more importantly, we know that for monetizing our music, physical media remains one of the best ways to go. Of course, in addition to concert tickets and merch sales. And for physical media to sell, you need to put out albums. So for independent artists, if album sales do well and therefore physical media sales do well, you have the best opportunity to monetize your music. So how is physical media doing for the first 6 months of the year? Well, it may be hard for skeptics to believe, but when we talk about vinyl album sales are up 108%, from 9 million to over 19 million units in just the first 6 months of this year. I mean, talk about staying power. This is a 60-year-old technology. And I have to be honest, I was one of the skeptics about vinyl. I did not think it was able to sustain this level of growth for this long, but I am a believer. It just can't be denied. Now, also interestingly, CD sales, after 2 decades of straight declines, are actually up for the first time. Now, by a modest 2%, but nonetheless up from 18.5 to 18.9 million units for the first 6 months of the year. Digital albums, which means downloads basically, are down 27% from a little short of 18 million units to a little short of 13 million units. And not surprising, with digital consumption really switching from downloads to streams. But even with the decline of digital albums that I just mentioned, total album sales were up a solid 12.6% in the first half of the year, from 45.5 million units to 52.3 million units. And even more amazingly, for those of us who love the premium sound and the graphics and the tactile nature of physical media, when we look at just physical albums, they were up a robust 37.5% year over year, from almost 28 million units to over 38 million units. For me, this is super exciting news, right? Physical is alive. Every physical format has grown, even cassettes, which are too small still for MRC to report on. And even more encouragingly, the album is alive and growing as well. Now, a couple of other interesting little tidbits from MRC's data. Independent record stores accounted for 48% of all vinyl sales by mid-year. And a big chunk of that, no doubt, driven by Record Store Day. And perhaps just as interesting, independents now are 36% of the physical market and a whopping 50% of the vinyl market. So there you have it. Vinyl is on fire. When we thought that it couldn't possibly keep growing at the pace that it had been and putting more strain on the really limited pressing capacity in the market, it doubled down, literally by doubling in volume. CDs appear to be starting a growth phase again after 20 years, and we certainly at Discmakers are seeing that with the long manufacturing turn times for vinyl, the CD demand is starting to increase as an alternative for vinyl, and also certainly much more affordable. And albums are alive, which means lots of artists are thinking beyond just a quick single to a long playing format that allows them to showcase a range of their works. It's also good news for artists relying on physical media to pay some of their bills. So it all sounds like exciting news to me. Now all we need to do is get this damn COVID Delta variant under control so that we can stop worrying about going to concerts. If you're ready to get started on your next vinyl album or CD album, just check us out at discmakers.com or give us a ring weekdays at 1-800-468-9353. We'll be here and we'll be ready when you're ready.